there was a bit of an insight yesterday with Channel 4's coverage because David Coulthard is one of the pundits. He's actually still a Red Bull colleague. You know, he still does his work for them. Last week he was doing a donut on top of a tower, which looked very scary. Pretty cool though. But DC said that they've seen Vettel hanging about in the Red Bull garage quite a lot in the last few races. I'm not saying he's going there next year because we know that it's going to be Gasly and Verstappen. What do you think about that? Because he doesn't look very happy. He had his wife with him at the US Grand Prix, and he never takes his wife along. There's just these little elements, Jack, where is Vettel happy at Ferrari because the pressure's on him? He hasn't produced.
I think he's a bit like Perez at Force India. I feel like he's more managing as well as driving that car. I think there's still not. I think they sort of summed it up well yesterday on Channel 4, where they said that, you know, you've got in Mercedes, you've got Toto Wolff, who's, you know, been a lot around motorsport, you know, in his career. You know, Christian Horner again has done a lot in his career, whereas Maurizio Arrivabene actually was he an advertiser or something to do with Ferrari? It wasn't actually to do with the motorsport.
It's like Toto Wolff, he was up and, you know, he started in a different position.
He did, but he was a racer as well, wasn't he, beforehand? So he's had experience in that. So throughout his career, he's at least had something to do with motorsport, whereas Arrivabene hadn't. So although we don't really know what goes on in Ferrari because they keep everything closed doors, so we don't know.
Which annoys a lot of people, actually.
Well, yeah, because I think Ferrari is the biggest team in the sport, so you want as much coverage as possibly can. But I think, you know, Vettel I think it was very comfortable at Red Bull for him because obviously starting there, I think over Mark Webber they preferred Vettel, so I think it was a very comfortable position for him. And I think, you know, obviously going to Ferrari now, you can sort of see not cracks appearing, but you can see like how difficult it is compared to where he was at Red Bull. And I think in his interview after the race, when they said, was it Tom Clarkson said that was another good recovery drive, and he was like, he just walked away and said, I'm sick of recovery drives, because I think he's a lot strained at the minute. And I think obviously Charles Leclerc coming in next season is a little bit spicy for Vettel as well, because it's a new young lad doing really well at Sauber.
Here comes the young buck.
Yeah, the young buck. Yeah, it's funny because I look at Leclerc now as the Vettel of Red Bull, and Vettel could be the Mark Webber at Ferrari, where move aside is Leclerc. And, you know, they're bringing him from Sauber midway through the first season, you know, that they announced him as a new driver. The confidence is strong on him, surely.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Kimi Räikkönen for Vettel was like Valtteri Bottas for Lewis Hamilton. You know, he doesn't normally win races. I know he won on the weekend, but he doesn't normally win races, and he sort of helps him along. Whereas Charles Leclerc, as a first driver, as much as he's maybe going to try and help Vettel, first season at Ferrari, he's going to want to try and do as much as he can to prove himself.
He's got that experience though at the Formula One level too, hasn't he? Because he's not been in Formula One for very long. So it's going to be, in essence, Vettel going to be out there on his own for most of the time, and whether that damages Ferrari's attempt for the constructors or for Vettel's championship run next year, we'll have to wait and see. But it wouldn't really give Vettel a lot of confidence, I don't think.
It's going to be interesting next year, and I think it's exciting for Ferrari fans, but they know that next year is a bit still nerve-wracking because they've had enough, haven't they? It's been 11 years since a world championship.
I think if you're a Vettel fan, then you're fine. You're pretty much coasting to the fact that he's going to be in the title contention once more. But if you're a fan of Ferrari as a team and the constructors, then I think it's going to be a lot more difficult than what it was in this season, because, you know, this season you had the team orders come into effect to say, yeah, Kimi, let's help Vettel along and try and get him as high up on the table as possible. Whereas, you know, as you already mentioned with Leclerc, the inexperience of him may come to account. Obviously, he's been in Formula One and driving for goodness knows how long, but, you know, with when it comes to managing Vettel and making sure he does what he wants, it may come to push and shove to a point where, you know, Leclerc is actually doing better, and
I think that's what Vettel needs to make sure he kicks on, because if he doesn't start the season well and Leclerc starts higher than him, there comes to a point during the season where they have to decide who they're going to pick to push,
precisely,
who the other driver is that's going to help the one out. So if Vettel's behind Leclerc at Azerbaijan or Canada, you know, Ferrari are going to have to make a very difficult decision on who they're going to push for.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting next year. I mean, there's so many driver changes on it. I'm still trying to remember it all. Quickly, just mention Kimi again. We mentioned Leclerc. Do you think Ferrari made the right decision still to let Raikkonen go? Because in the last few races, he's been so consistent at getting podiums. And then that race win shows that he can still do it by beating Hamilton on the first corner. In my eyes, Hamilton's the best driver on the grid right now. But for him to do that still, is that just a reminder to think, I'm not done yet?
It's something, I can't remember the saying exactly, but it's something like, don't jump off before it's too late or something like that. And I think that's the decision really with Raikkonen. He is getting on a bit now, isn't he?
39,
39, you know. So
it was actually his birthday. His birthday was last week.
Well, I'm not going to say, you know, that his reactions are getting slower because they're probably miles better than mine as a Formula One driver and turning corners and whatnot. But, you know, there comes a time and a point and a place where you have to move on from the past and look forward and innovate towards the future. And I think really that's what Ferrari were lacking really when it comes to Vettel and Raikkonen, because I think Vettel's in his 30s now, isn't he? Something like that. Yeah. And Leclerc is, what, 22?
21, 20?
Yeah, I'm going to say he's younger than that.
He's really young. Like, I'll have to check.
Well, there you go. You know, you got 10 years now with Leclerc if you want to really push on and, you know, and really push him forward as a driver for the future. So, you know, it's going to be an exciting time for Ferrari. So it's definitely the right decision for them to move on from Raikkonen now, despite the fact that he won at the weekend. I'm pretty certain Raikkonen, this won't be the last we hear of him. He'll probably be around for at least, you know, a year, two more years at the very most. So yeah, definitely the right decision for them to move on from now, and it's definitely one that they are, shall we say, managing in the correct situation, despite the fact that Raikkonen won at the weekend.
Leclerc is 21, just to clarify. So yeah, exciting for next year, but as we mentioned, Raikkonen will be with Sauber next season. So bring on 2019.